Food Bank is an affiliate of Feeding America. We're one of 200 food banks serving the country. And here in Utah, that affiliation gives us responsibility for the entire state of Utah. So as an emergency food assistance program, we're here for all 29 counties. So the Utah Food Bank has been faced with hunger issues that we've been affiliated with since 1904. And they've taken many different looks, many different times, many different eras of our history. But the past few years has been incredible. The pandemic, I think, brought to our state and to our country and the world awareness of issues that we really have now had to refocus on. One of the main ones being food insecurity. People who are impacted by COVID lost jobs, sometimes almost overnight. Savings were depleted. They couldn't get back to work. A lot had, things like medical bills and issues that kept those families from really progressing and getting back on track. And as soon as the COVID issues started to kind of quiet, inflation kicked in. And now these same families, and I will say the inflation is impacting all of us, are now back in a situation where food is the last thing on the budget they're able to address. Utilities cost more, groceries are costing more, rent is up, daycare is up. Every single thing on the budget has to be addressed with larger dollar amounts first, and then there is little left for food. So food insecurity is impacting our entire state differently in different areas, but 9% of the population here in the state of Utah are faced with food insecurity, and that just means they don't know where their next meal will come from. This year, we distributed 67.3 million pounds of food. And for that, people think, well, what does that mean? Who is that helping? Well, that's 53 million meals. So that's a lot of food in different forms, in different areas. But I only think that number is going to grow. And the challenge that's a flip side of that is food shortages and supply chains are going to become more serious. So we're going to have less product to feed more people. The holiday season at the Utah Food Bank is somewhat extended for most folks. We start in October and we go until the middle of January. And we do that just because people go back to work after New Year's and they have to work 2 years to get the first paycheck. And so that 2 weeks is an interesting time. But what we also see during the holiday season is that's when people love to give. They find that it's a holiday season giving. They find that it's an incredible time to remember people. But what we try to remind folks is that hunger doesn't have a season. We need that help year round. And while people are very thoughtful during the holiday season and we appreciate it and we stretch those donations as far as we can, we really need to kind of educate folks to think about hunger year round, all 12 months. So the Utah Food Bank was approached several years ago by members of the State Treasurer's Office asking if there was a project we could partner with to help get a pantry in San Juan County. And then COVID hit. So our conversations kind of had to be put on hold. As we came back together, time had passed, and I explained we still were very much interested, but we needed to be a little bit more strategic in the approach that we took. So the Utah Food Bank's approach at that point was to build a distribution center in Blanding with a pantry attached, then to put a pantry in Montezuma Creek, and to put one in Monument Valley. So what will happen is instead of us transporting product to them once a week or once a month, whatever the need might be by truck, we'll have a distribution warehouse there. We can get to the pantries on the reservation within an hour and a half. We'll be able to have an open door policy where people can come 4 or 5 days a week versus coming 1 day per month. And we're so excited with the impact that we think it's going to have on food insecurity and issues on the reservation. The building has started. We're in the process of all 3 of those now in varying degrees, but our goal is to have all 3 of them up and operating by the end of the summer of 2023. As we look at all of the audiences that we serve, and the look of Utah has changed drastically. If you look at the last 10 years, refugees have been coming to our state, but we always have had our Indigenous folks in San Juan County who have been there forever, who really have struggled for lots of reasons on varying levels. If you were to consider a home that has no power or no water, you really can't take the same food to them that we can give to someone who lives in a different community. Their dietary needs are different. They're struggling now with issues of diabetes. So what kinds of food can we get to them that are healthy? What kind of foods can we get to them that really match the diet of a Native American? So we're really going through an education process. We're going through a really stringent procurement process, now being able to find vendors that provide exactly the types of food and additional produce and those household goods, all the things they need, but things that will be driven by the need of a specific person and a specific diet versus trying to do the one size fits all. We're excited about that. And we're working with the health centers in San Juan County. We're really being dedicated in our mission to find the right food, not just find them food. As a professional, I've been involved with the Utah Food Bank since 1993. My previous career with Fidelity Investments as Director of Public Affairs, we wanted to partner with organizations like the Food Bank. What I had learned as an individual, not necessarily a professional, was years and years ago as a single mother of 2 children, we ended up being homeless. We were in a community that didn't have a battered women's shelter, nor was there a pantry. And there really was not a way to get help for my small family. And it was a very difficult time for me. And I think as a parent, I can tell you honestly, there is nothing more frightening than putting a child to bed at night knowing she's hungry, recognizing when she gets up in the morning, you still don't have anything. I look back at that period of my life and the challenges that I went through. Now I look at it differently. I don't want to say that I appreciated it, but I can honestly say I learned from it. Without those services around me, without being able to help my family, it was so, as a parent, you're to take care of those kids, and I couldn't do that. The compassion I have now for the job that I'm doing allows me to sit in this chair and know what those parents are going through and know how hard it is. I wouldn't have the passion about Utah Food Bank and food insecurity and feeding hungry children to the level that I have now had I not experienced it. Going through that was the worst time of my life, but it turned out to be the best lesson that I've ever had. And I hope I take that lesson and partner that with my passion and continue to see what parents and families need in our state. I don't want parents to go through that. I don't want children to experience that. If I can help prevent another parent from feeling that way, that's my role. That's what I have to do. I know I can't do it alone. I need the help from everyone around us. But for me personally, I want to be sure that a parent has access to a pantry and to security and to safety. We all deserve those basics. It's the Utah Food Bank's a 501c3. We're a nonprofit organization. We are so indebted to our donors and people who help us. But the challenge comes that sometimes those donations don't make it through a process that it was intended. They don't get to us. They sit in a lockbox or a bank account, and the transaction doesn't go through. $2,500 is huge for us. That can provide almost 2,000 meals. For us to be able to hear the news that we have money coming that we weren't expecting, now going through the process of looking at everything more expensive, whether it's fuel or food or salary, $2,500 is a landfall, and it should be appreciated. And anyone who is able to accept the help of this department and benefit from them by claiming these funds they didn't know were coming to their budget, we're blessed. So the work is hard for you, I'm sure. The challenges, I'm sure, are very, very difficult to track down all aspects of what those transactions were supposed to be. But please know that when it comes through that process and comes to us, and we are able to take those funds and do what we need to do, we are so incredibly grateful for the help and the processing that you guys go through to help us fight hunger in Utah. I would hope that people would not look at this as a challenge or be skeptical or be frightened or be nervous. They need to look at it as an opportunity, as a positive experience, and they need to look at it as a way that they are going to benefit from not only from a profitable means, but from an experiential means as well. Think of the person that might let that money go and leave it sitting because they didn't want to go through a process that's driven by a department who will help you and not hinder you to end up receiving what is truly yours. We live in such an interesting time with all of our social media, with all of our high tech, with all of our abilities to research and to learn more about people and areas. This should be a way that people should take those expertises they have developed to benefit people. If you see, or if you're looking at a list and you see a name, reach out to that person if you recognize their name, let them know that they are here, they're listed. Give them the information to go through starting the process for themselves. I think that I always joke and say Utah's a small town because really we kind of know everybody everywhere as we go through what we do day to day. So it isn't like we don't know people and we don't recognize their names. Shame on us if we don't take time to reach out to that person and say, you need to go through this, you need to check. Spread the good word, help people find what belongs to them, and help your department do their job and continue to do it as well as they do.